Touching moment revealed, manager cancels 4.5B deal after discovering incredible truth about CEO. In the heart of Arcadia, a small Midwest town bursting with life, news spread like wildfire. Sarah, a dedicated manager at the local manufacturing company, had just taken a shocking step. She canceled a $4.5 billion deal that had the power to transform their community. But why? What lay behind her bold decision was a story woven with heartbreak and resilience, one that would shake the very foundation of the town. To the townsfolk, Sarah was a beacon of hope. They cheered her on, trusting her judgment, believing in a bright future. But as the ink dried on the merger papers, Sarah discovered a hidden truth about John, the company's enigmatic CEO. It struck her like lightning. John's past was shrouded in hardship, an upbringing that reeked of pain and prejudice. Her heart raced as she uncovered the layers of his story, a boy from the streets, ridiculed and overlooked, who fought tooth and nail to rise above, only to carry the burden of his father's disdain. Sarah felt a pang in her chest. Here was a man who had clawed his way into the world of success, yet the shadows of fear and rejection still clung to him. It was a stark reminder of the struggles that so many in their town faced. She felt compelled to do something. But what? Should she risk everything for the truth, a truth rooted in pain? As she prepared to confront him, emotions swirled inside her like a storm. The weight of community expectations pressed down on her. She imagined the joy on the faces of families who would benefit from the merger, but she also understood that her own values coursed through her veins like fire. Could she become part of a corporate machine that might overlook the humanity behind the numbers? When the moment finally arrived, and Sarah stood before John, the air crackled with tension. She could see the flicker of nerves behind his confident smile, and in that moment, she knew he too was afraid. "John," she began, her voice steady yet infused with emotion. "I need to talk to you about your past." What followed was raw, emotional, and transformative. They dove deep into their histories, peeling back layers of fear and vulnerability. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet in the midst of their dialogue, Sarah felt something ignite within her. Could she really go forward with a deal built on a man's glossed-over past? The very fabric of their community hung in the balance, and her integrity felt at stake. Taking a deep breath, she made her decision. "I can't do this," she said, her voice unwavering. "I have to cancel the deal." It sent shockwaves through the room and echoed through the town. Anger and disappointment surged like a tide. Yet amidst the chaos, murmurings of hope began to surface, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, there was more to success than profit. What awaited Sarah and John in this unexpected journey was still unknown. Would their shared pain lead to healing and unity, or would it fracture the fragile bonds that held their community together? The choice lay ahead, laden with uncertainty. The air was thick around Sarah after she uttered those words. The room, once filled with anticipation, now simmered with disbelief and anger. John's face fell, his bravado shattered. Sarah could see the confusion etched into his features, the very vulnerability they had uncorked moments before now presenting a different story, one of betrayal. "Sarah," John started, his voice barely above a whisper. "You don't understand what this deal means. It's the lifeblood for everyone in this town." His eyes were wide, the urgency palpable. "I do understand, John," she replied, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. "It means profits for you and a shiny new building for the shareholders, but what about the people here? The ones who need more than just a paycheck?" Their colleagues looked on in silence, a tableau of mixed emotions. Some shook their heads in frustration, while others seemed to nod, perhaps sharing her vision of something greater than numbers. Sarah felt the weight of their eyes on her. It was as if she stood at the center of a roaring tempest. Your past, John, she continued, digging deeper into their conversation. It isn't just a story. It's a part of you. A part that shapes how you lead this company. How can you expect to build a future if the foundation is built on secrets? The silence that followed was deafening. John's shoulders folded slightly, the arrogance dissipating, laid bare before her. I thought if I built something big enough, it would drown out the past. I wanted to show everyone, especially my father, what I could accomplish. Building walls won't change what's inside, Sarah said softly. It just makes it easier to hide. You don't have to be alone in this. A flicker of realization crossed John's face, a momentary crack in the armor he had built around himself. The room held its breath, waiting for him to respond. Would he break or would he fight back? I didn't want anyone to know. If they see me for who I really am, will they respect me? Will they trust me? His voice was now tinged with desperation. Too many lives had been intertwined in this dance of ambition, pain, and hope. Sarah's heart ached for him, but even more so for her town. Maybe that's the key, she said gently. You have to let them see you. John took a step back, processing her words. What are you suggesting? That I go back to them and tell them the truth? Yes. You have a chance to lead, not just with your success but with your story. Show them you're human, like they are. It could change everything. But the climate was shifting. Whispers of discontent reverberated through the group. What if this backfires? Someone finally dared to speak up. What if he's just stalling us? The challenge hung in the air, sharp and unyielding. Sarah felt her stomach drop, uncertain how to navigate this newfound tension between hope and doubt. The people around them wanted a leader who could promise growth, security, and a way out of their struggles, not a messy truth that could unravel everything. As Sarah locked eyes with John, she saw a mixture of fear and determination, but also the flicker of courage igniting within him. Fight for the truth, John, she urged silently. It's the only thing worth fighting for. The moment felt suspended in time, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. She looked around once more, sensing the shifting tides of the room. The stakes just dialed up a notch. What would he choose? Would John risk everything to reveal his truth, or would he cling to the security of his carefully crafted facade? The answer lay ahead, tangled in the uncertainty of what it meant to be real in a world so often driven by the cold calculus of success. John stood at the edge of an abyss, his mind racing. What if he stepped forward, tore down the walls he'd spent years building? The thought was terrifying. Yet, glancing at Sarah, he felt a strange comfort in her steady gaze. She believed in him. The whispers swirled again, doubts crashing against the fragile hope Sarah had sparked. I know I've misled everyone, he finally said, his voice louder now, gaining momentum. But what will telling them the truth get us? They need stability, not vulnerability. A voice from the back spoke up, its owner stepping into the light. It was Mara, a longtime employee of the company, her face reflective of years of hard work and unanswered questions. John, it's not just business anymore. We're people. We deserve honesty, even if it scares you. If we're going to move forward, it has to be together. The air felt electric now, the tension crackling as others began to vocalize their agreements. We need a leader we can trust, someone else chimed in. John's heart thudded in his chest. This was it. Perhaps he hadn't just been hiding from his past, he'd been using it as a shield to guard against the world. The idea of facing it openly was as daunting as standing on a stage with a spotlight on him. You really think they'll understand? He asked Mara, an edge of uncertainty creeping into his voice. Have faith, she urged. We're all in this together. And I believe they will. Just like I believe you can lead us better than with half-formed truths. His mind flashed back to memories he often kept locked away, shaming moments from his childhood, failures he buried deeper than the ground could hold. An overwhelming wave of vulnerability crashed over him. Maybe it was time to let it all surface. Taking a deep breath, John stepped toward the center of the room, the eyes of his colleagues blazing with anticipation. He could feel the weight of their hope, but also the fear that clung to them like shadows. I need to share something very personal, he began, the tremble in his voice barely concealable. Something that has shaped every decision I've made here. Sarah watched, lowly hopeful, as John delved into his own past, the struggles of growing up feeling inadequate, the mistakes that still haunted him. Each word felt like lifting a weight off his shoulders, yet he couldn't deny the fear gnawing at him. What if they turned away? What if they didn't accept this version of him? The room was silent, wrapped in the gravity of his confession. After what felt like hours, John finished, his heart hammering against his ribcage. He glanced around, looking for signs of rejection or acceptance. I know this might change things, he added, his voice steadying with each exhale. But I'd rather fight for our community with all of me than with just a facade. I believe we can build something real together. Then, silence settled back in. Was it anticipation or disapproval? Sarah felt her stomach twist, uncertainty was suffocating, and suddenly, Mara broke the silence, tears glistening in her eyes. You're brave, John. This is a step I think we all needed. Others echoed their support, murmurs rising. A collective sense of camaraderie filled the room, patches of light in a once dark atmosphere. But John felt a new anxiety wash over him. With acceptance came expectation. He realized he would have to lead them as he truly was a flawed man who would continually fight to be better. As they began to rally around him, an unexpected thought struck John. In this moment of vulnerability, he didn't just risk everything, he was building something entirely new. But before he could completely grasp the enormity of what had begun, a heavy knock interrupted them. The door swung open, and in walked a figure from his past, a challenge he hadn't anticipated. The tension thickened once more. What truth would this figure expose? What new battle awaited them? The answers lingered just out of reach, as John realized he might have to face not just the townspeople's demands, but his own past's shadow. John's heart dropped as he recognized the man stepping into the room. It was Adam, his childhood friend turned rival, someone who knew both his triumphs and failures better than anyone. The memories flooded back, moments of laughter, but also of betrayal when Adam felt abandoned after John chose ambition over their friendship, a choice that haunted him. The room felt like it was shrinking, the air thick with confusion and apprehension. John searched the faces of his colleagues, bewilderment painted on their expressions told him they shared his concern. Would Adam's presence shake this fragile new foundation he'd just begun to build with them? Would he reveal old secrets that could undo everything? John, Adam began, his voice calm but heavy with an undertone of challenge. Nice to see you again after all these years. Why are you here? John managed to reply, his voice barely above a whisper. He could feel Sarah's hand inching towards his, offering a lifeline. Adam stepped closer, his eyes scanning the room, gauging the reaction from the gathered crowd. I just want to talk. There are things you need to hear. Things about the company and about you. The urgency in his tone sent a shiver down John's spine. The reality of the ticking clock pressed against him. He thought they could finally move forward, heal the wounds of the past. But here was Adam, a storm brought back from the depths of his history, threatening to drown any hope they had rekindled. What do you mean? John replied slowly, carefully weighing his words. The warmth and acceptance he'd just felt dissipated into an icy knot as he tried to catch a glimpse of Adam's intentions. Adam folded his arms, leaning against the door frame, an air of casual confidence enveloping him. You can't keep burying the past, John. That's not how it works. If you want to lead these people, you have to confront what really happened. Murmurs rustled through the crowd. John sensed their unease, their yearning for direction clashing with the tension thickening the air. I'm trying to create something honest, John said, his voice rising. I'm trying to do better. What do you want from me? Adam stepped forward, lowering his voice. I want you to face the truth that there's more at stake here than your reputation. Your decisions have consequences, John. You can't act like everything is perfect, and hence manipulate reality just because you want to feel like the hero. A stone settled in John's stomach. He looked at Sarah, who stared back, wide-eyed. It wasn't just him who would be affected, it was everyone who believed in the new direction, a direction propelled by his reconciliation with the truth. Mara chimed in, stepping beside John. Whatever it is, we deserve to know. We put our faith in you, John. But you need to trust us with the whole story. The stakes heightened. John felt the pressure mount. What else was Adam holding back? Would whatever he revealed send them spiraling? He could sense their anticipation along with their apprehension. The room was electric with uncertainty. I know, Adam said, his tone shifting to something softer, I know you want to move on, to be the leader they need. But you can't do that while running from the past. It's time to bring everything into the open. John steadied himself, his mind racing. Trust was fragile. Acceptance was still fresh. Something about Adam's presence ignited a flicker of a long-buried fear, a fear that mitigating the past had only created more darkness. He took a deep breath, meeting Adam's gaze with determination. If you have something to say, say it. But know this: I'll fight to protect those who stand with me. I won't let you tear down what we've built. The tension in the room surged, palpable and electric. Silence followed, a collective breath held, each person aware that whatever happened next would potentially change everything, but what truths were waiting to be uncovered? Would they bring light and understanding, or further fracture the fragile bond John had just begun to forge? The answers hung like a question mark, waiting. Amidst the charged atmosphere, as John braced himself for whatever would come next, Adam took a moment, his expression shifting from that of a challenger to something more introspective. John felt the air buzz with curiosity as the crowd leaned in, their eyes darting between him and Adam. You think I'm here to destroy you, Adam said, his tone calm but laced with urgency. But that's not why I came. There are things I've kept to myself for too long, things you need to know to protect what you're building. Then speak. John urged, feeling the pressure of the room surge once more. The walls felt as if they were closing in, and he could almost hear the collective heartbeat of his team, a rhythmic reminder of the stakes. Adam slowly breathed in, searching for the right words. Remember the project we worked on together back in college? The one that was supposed to change everything? John's heart raced. How could he forget? It had been their grand vision, their dream, until ambition drove a wedge between them. What about it? He replied, a knot forming in his chest. There were choices made, choices that set everything in motion. Your ambition came at a cost, John. We were meant to be partners, and I didn't just lose a friend, I lost a part of myself in that fall. John locked eyes with Sarah, who looked between him and Adam, her worry palpable. What are you saying? He demanded, the intensity rising in his chest. Are you blaming me for what happened? No. Adam shot back, his voice thick. I'm telling you that there's more to the story. There are people who might want to stop you from achieving what you're trying to build now. It's not just about the past, it's about the network you're trying to establish. They will exploit your weaknesses unless you confront them head-on. Who? John questioned. The room fell silent, tension coiling in the air like a taut wire. Those who were involved in the original project. They haven't forgotten. They want revenge for what they lost. You need to know who your real enemies are, John. It's more than just corporate rivalry, it's personal. John's breath hitched. He had been so focused on his new role that he hadn't considered those lurking shadows from the past. Are you saying they're here, now? Adam nodded slowly. In some way, yes. There are people who want to see you fail. I didn't realize it at first, but they are waiting for the right moment to act. A chill ran through John, and he turned to the gathered team, their expressions mixed with uncertainty and disbelief. We need to discuss this, he said, feeling the weight of their trust resting on him. But first, if I am to face the truth and protect us, I must know everything. Adam's gaze softened. This isn't just about you, it's about everyone here. I came to warn you, John. I want to help you fight this. John felt a flicker of hope, a fragile flame igniting amid the growing darkness. Perhaps there was a chance to rebuild everything, to amend what had been broken long ago. Perhaps Adam could play a role in that, but just as he began to feel a sense of clarity, Adam's phone buzzed loudly. He frowned and pulled it from his pocket, glancing at the screen. I have to take this, he muttered. But we need to meet tonight. I have more to share. John nodded as Adam stepped outside, tension still lingering in the room. Eyes turned back to him, waiting, expecting. What are we doing? Mara broke the silence, her voice steadier than John felt inside. He took a breath, grounding himself in the moment. We build this together. But we can't do it without knowing what's really at stake. As the weight of responsibility pressed down on him, John could only wonder what truths would be unveiled in their meeting later that evening. Would they strengthen their bond, or would they face a reckoning? His phone vibrated, jolting him from his thoughts. It was a message from Adam. You're not ready for what I'm about to tell you. Trust me, you need to prepare. With a sense of dread curling in the pit of his stomach, John locked eyes with Sarah. What could be worse than what we already know? He whispered, fearing the answer might shatter everything he had just begun to rebuild. The room felt heavy, the air thick with uncertainty as John's mind raced. Preparing for what Adam was about to reveal seemed almost impossible. As minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness, he could feel the weight of expectation pressing down on him. The team's eyes were glued to him, seeking reassurance that everything would be okay. What do you think he means? Mara asked, breaking the uneasy silence that had settled among them. Surely we can handle whatever it is. John forced a smile, trying to mask the growing anxiety. We've handled worse. Whatever this is, we stick together, he replied, but his voice betrayed him, wavering slightly. Sarah leaned toward him, her hand brushing against his. You're not alone, John. No matter what happens, we have each other. Her warmth was a lifeline. He needed that. Just then, the door swung open, and Adam stepped back in, his expression grave. The room immediately tightened with anticipation. He was ready to share, but the tension crackled like electricity. Thank you for waiting, Adam said, his voice steady, but there was an underlying tremor that didn't go unnoticed. He took a deep breath as he paced slowly in front of them. I've found out more about the people who want to see you fail. They're not just old rivals, they are tied to something much darker. John felt his heart thud painfully against his ribs. He nodded, urging him to continue. There's a group that believes in some extreme measures. If they can't win fairly, they'll find ways to sabotage everything, he continued, his words more like a warning than information. What kind of sabotage? Mara interrupted, her brow knitted in fear and confusion. Financial ruin, inside leaks, manipulating media narratives. They've done it before, and they will do it again. Adam's gaze swept the room, landing on each of them with a flash of intensity. This is a warning. To protect what we've built, we need to be prepared for anything. John felt the room spin as their laughter and camaraderie flashed before him, now seemingly naive and distant. How do we fight against something like that? He asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Adam paused, his eyes darkening. Get ahead of it. Build alliances. Strengthen your core team. And above all, trust no one outside this group until we know who we can rely on. It's a matter of survival now. Survival? Sarah echoed, worry lining her features. Is it really that serious? It is, Adam confirmed, his voice grim. I wouldn't say anything this urgent if it weren't. It's more than just money now, it's about keeping you safe. The weight of Adam's declaration hung in the atmosphere like a storm cloud, thick and suffocating. John felt a flicker of anger rise within him. We worked too hard to let fear dictate our decisions. We're not running away from this. We built something meaningful, and we won't let them take it from us. John Adam cautioned, shaking his head slightly. You need to understand no. We've faced challenges before. This isn't going to be different. John took a breath, holding on to a sliver of determination. We'll confront them head-on. Together. As he spoke, something inside him solidified a steely resolve. But the knowledge of what lay ahead felt like ice water coursing through his veins. Tonight, we strategize, he commanded, looking at each of his team members. We will not be blindsided. Not again. With a mix of uncertainty and determination, they began to move forward with their plans. But as the meeting progressed, and ideas bounced around the room, John caught himself glancing at the door, wondering if there really were eyes watching, lurking in the shadows. What lay ahead felt like a dark staircase with no light at the end. A moment of silence fell over the team, and just like that, the weight of the world felt heavier. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside. Everyone turned toward the sound, fear mounting. Had the threats already begun to materialize? Stay here, John called out, instinct kicking in as he moved toward the door. He could hear his heartbeat thundering in his ears, each pulsing. Echo of the unease that surrounded him. As he stepped out into the unknown, each moment felt like it could change everything. What had he just unleashed? John's pulse quickened as he pushed the door open, the cool night air rushing in around him. The ominous crash had come from the courtyard. Shadows danced under the flickering streetlights, and he could feel the tension crackling in the atmosphere. It was a world warped by uncertainty, an unease that clung to every corner. Something was out of place. He stepped cautiously outside, scanning his surroundings. The night felt different now, like the calm before a storm. The moon hung low, heavy with foreboding. As he rounded the corner, he saw a figure moving in the darkness. The silhouette was hunched, but even from a distance, John could tell it was frantically rummaging through something. Hey! John shouted, his voice stronger than he felt. The figure froze, then bolted. Stop! He yelled, adrenaline speeding through his veins. As he sprinted after the figure, every moment felt stretched thin, like an elastic band ready to snap. Why were they here? Were they part of the larger threat looming over the team? The shadows shifted, and in the chaos, John's foot caught on a loose stone, sending him tumbling to the ground. The impact knocked the breath out of him, and all he could hear was his heartbeat pounding in his ears. John! Sarah's voice cut through the haze, but he struggled to rise. A rush of panic washed over him. He needed to get up, he needed to confront whoever was in the courtyard. Bracing himself against the cold ground, he stood up, glancing back to the door. He could see his team watching from inside, their faces painted with worry. It fueled his determination. With a final lunging step, he pushed through the shadows, and before he knew it, he was face to face with the intruder. A young man, disheveled and wild-eyed, stood there, a bag clutched tightly against his chest, shifting nervously. What do you want? Who are you? John demanded. I didn't mean to scare anyone. I'm just trying to. I need to talk. The young man stammered, his words spilling out in a panic. I know about the threats. I have information. John eyed him warily, unsure if this was a trick or a genuine plea for help. What information? Jack Turner's group. They're planning something big, a way to take you all down from the inside. Turner? John echoed, the name sending unwanted chills down his spine. Jack was a name they had feared, a shadow that had hung over their team for too long. What could this young man possibly know? They're going to use your own people against you. There's a traitor among you. John felt the blood drain from his face. He glanced back inside at his team, vulnerable and unwitting. How do you know this? Because I was part of it. At first, I thought it was just business, but now they want to hurt you. If you don't take action soon, it'll be too late. Every instinct alarmed, John stood rooted to the spot. This was an unexpected twist. A threat that hit too close to home. What do you want from us? John felt himself asking, lowering his guard by sheer instinct. Hope flickered as he considered what they could learn. I just want to help, he said, his voice shaky and uncertain. You need someone on the inside, someone who knows how Turner operates. Questions swirled in John's mind. Did he dare trust this stranger? Was there any way to validate his claims without putting his team in danger? Sarah's voice rang out from behind him, a mix of concern and urgency. John. Are you okay? John made a decision, one that he hoped would prove right. Bring him inside. As he stepped back toward the door, he felt the weight of the impending storm looming overhead. Could this be their way out? Or was it just the beginning of a deeper betrayal? The young man stepped carefully in after him, and as they crossed the threshold, John couldn't shake the feeling that the real battle was just beginning. John closed the door behind him, locking out the tension that was thick as fog. The young man hovered just inside the entrance, anxious and visibly trembling. Sarah stepped forward, her eyes narrowing, assessing the newcomer with a mix of curiosity and caution. Is it safe? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Safe? John echoed, still processing the whirlwind of revelations. That's what we have to find out. Sarah crossed her arms, her stance protective. You trust him? I have to, John replied, steeling himself. We need information if we're going to stop Turner. The newcomer shifted his weight nervously, clutching the bag tighter. I just want to make things right, he said, his voice shaky. My name is Ethan. I didn't like what they were planning. His eyes darted around the room, as if the walls themselves might betray him. But you were part of it? Sarah shot back, her tone cutting through the tension. I didn't know. It was just a job to me at first. I was naive. But when I figured out what they really wanted, I couldn't just stand by. John could sense the flicker of a real struggle in Ethan's eyes. Trust was hard to come by, especially now. Yet, there was desperation there too. What exactly do you know? He pressed, trying to draw out the details. They're planning to infiltrate your team, Ethan explained, his voice gaining confidence with each word. They've already got someone on the inside working for them. Their goal is to turn you against each other. Jack believes it's the only way to crush you. Panic surged through the room. The atmosphere shifted palpably as the members of John's team exchanged worried glances. Does anyone in here know it? John demanded, suddenly feeling the weight of leadership heavy on his shoulders. Ethan hesitated, then took a deep breath. I think it's someone close to you, maybe someone you trust. They're planting seeds of doubt, making your decisions feel like your own while steering your course. John's heart raced. He thought of the late-night meetings, the quiet conversations in the break room. Who could it be? We can't just sit here, Sarah declared, stepping forward with renewed urgency. We need to identify the traitor and put a stop to this before it's too late. Ethan nodded vigorously. I mean it. I can help. I can show you how they communicate, what they're planning. John could feel the resolve forming in the room. All right, he said. We'll need to work quickly. Can you draw us a timeline of what you know? We need every detail. This isn't just about stopping Turner, it's about protecting our family here. Ethan's eyes softened at the word family. It seemed to resonate with him. I can do that, he stuttered, visibly shaken but determined. Then we'll find a way to expose the traitor, Sarah interjected. No more secrets. We do this together. Just then, the lights flickered, and for a brief moment, the room was cloaked in darkness. The flicker felt like a foreboding omen, a signal that the storm was closer than they realized. A ripple of anxiety coursed through the group, and John felt the weight of their fears pressing down on him. They were vulnerable, perhaps more than ever. But he couldn't afford to waver. Everyone, keep your eyes and ears open, he instructed firmly. We can't let our guard down. As they set about organizing their response, John felt a strange mix of hope and dread. A traitor among them? What if they turned against him just as easily? Ethan seemed to pick up on his unease. You don't trust me, do you? He asked, his voice breaking slightly. John met his gaze, determination mixed with uncertainty. Trust comes from actions, not words, he replied quietly. Prove it's worth taking that leap of faith. Ethan nodded, the resolve hardening in his expression. As they leaned into planning, a single thought echoed in John's mind. What if the enemy wasn't just outside, but lurking right next to him? The ground seemed to shake beneath them. Time was running out. John's mind raced as plans fell into place. He felt the energy in the room shift and urgency fueling their discussions. Ethan had shared the details, but they needed more than just information, they craved a strategy. Every second counted now, and he could almost feel Turner's shadow looming closer. All right, John said, pulling the team together. We need to identify who on our team might be compromised. Everyone needs to share what they know, secrets, whispers, anything unusual. Ethan scribbled furiously on a notepad, trying to keep up with the flood of thoughts. They communicate via encrypted messages. I can show you the app they use, but we need to act fast. They could already be planning to draw someone deeper in. Then let us set up a sting operation, Sarah suggested. Her eyes gleamed with fierce determination. We'll bait them into revealing themselves. John could see the gears turning in everyone's mind. The focus in the room was electric. But beneath that focus was an underlying current of fear of betrayal, fear of losing friends they once held dear. It was palpable, and as much as John wanted to shield them from that, he knew it was part of the territory. Everyone needs to be careful, he warned, glancing at each of their faces. We're not just fighting outsiders. We might be fighting our own. A low murmur of agreement rippled through the group. The stakes had never been higher. They were risking everything: loyalty, friendships, even their lives. Trust was fragile, like glass, and even a small crack could shatter it completely. As they began to strategize, John felt his phone buzz in his pocket. Glancing down, his heart dropped at the message flashing on the screen. It was a message from Jack: "We're closer than you think. You should watch your back." The room fell silent. Ethereal silence enveloped them, amplifying the tension as all eyes turned to John. He could feel their collective anxiety weighing down like a dense fog. Would Jack come for him next? Or could he manage to flip the script before it was too late? Did everyone hear that? John said, lifting his gaze defiantly. Jack knows we're onto him. We need to work even faster now. Ethan's face went pale. If Jack suspects that we're onto him, he'll have no choice but to act. We need to set up a false trail, something to distract him while we figure out who the traitor is. Sarah nodded, planning already brewing in her mind. We'll stage a meeting, make it look legitimate. If our traitor is watching, we can draw them out. But a thought hit John hard. What if the traitor knows we're planning that? What if they're ahead of us? The mere idea made his stomach churn. Ethan swallowed hard. Then we take a leap, and trust each other. There's too much at stake to hide in fear. As they started piecing together their plan, a sudden crash echoed outside, jolting them from their concentration. John's heart raced as he shot a glance at the door. What now? With tension in the air, he moved toward the window, peering into the swirling gloom outside. A dark figure paused in the distance, barely visible through the haze. Could this be a sign, or was it just another twist in their already tangled story? As they huddled together, uncertainty gripped them once more. With the enemy drawing nearer, John wondered if they could really rely on each other. Would they manage to hold on to their bonds, or would suspicion tear them apart? The storm was brewing, and John knew the fight was just beginning. But one question lingered heavily in the air: who could they trust when darkness threatened to pull them apart? The night hung heavy with tension as John peered out the window, the silhouette of the figure flickering like a page torn from a book of dread. Was this a friend or foe? The shadows pulsed, alive with uncertainty, and he turned back to the gathering of hopeful faces. "Stay alert," he commanded, each word punctuated with urgency. Ethan leaned closer, his brow furrowed. "We have to act. Jack's not just waiting, he'll come for whatever he thinks he can seize." A flurry of murmur swept through the room, each member grappling with their own fears, aspirations, and the threat lurking just outside. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady and resolute. "We're not backing down. We've come too far to let fear dictate our actions." John felt the swell of her strength radiate through him, igniting the flicker of courage that had darkened too many times. "Right. We have a plan. Let us finalize it now." They huddled, strategizing like a football team in a crucial game. Every detail was dissected, each move a potential misstep or victory. Simultaneously, a unified determination began to coalesce within them, an unbreakable bond forged not just from ambition, but shared humanity. As they set their plan in motion, John could feel the ice of doubt begin to melt. They would make their stand, together. "All right, here's what we do. We set the meeting for tomorrow, but we make sure it looks legitimate. We'll distract Jack's people and draw the traitor into the open," John instructed, his voice a steady anchor against the tempest of uncertainty. Ethan nodded vigorously. "I'll get the intel flowing. My friends still in the field can help. They've seen things, heard things." Making eye contact with each team member, John's heart swelled with pride and hope. He realized that they weren't just fighting for a business anymore, they were fighting for each other. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly, the meeting room illuminated by a single flickering bulb, a testament to their resolve. Sarah moved among them, nurturing their fears with words of encouragement, filling the space with the warmth of belief when doubt threatened to consume them. Then, just as they began to feel the momentum of possibility, a swift knock broke their concentration. John's heart raced, and he exchanged nervous glances with Sarah. "Who could that be?" "I'll check," Ethan offered, his voice tinged with uncertainty. He opened the door to reveal a figure, outlined in darkness. It was Adam, appearing haggard but determined. "I came as soon as I could. I heard about your plans," he said breathlessly, and the room's atmosphere shifted, excitement intertwining with anxiety. John stepped closer, feeling like a captain confronting a storm. "You know something?" Adam took a deep breath. "I've been digging into more than just Turner's network. The traitor, it's someone you all trust more than you realize." Silence settled heavily over the room as eyes darted back and forth, stricken with shock and apprehension. "Who?" John whispered, panic brewing beneath the surface. "I can't be certain yet, but there's been talk," Adam continued. "They've been feeding false information to Turner's group, shaping narratives, whispering doubts." His gaze shifted to Ethan. "And if we don't identify them soon, it could unravel everything." "Then let us flush the rat out," Sarah said boldly, her spirit a beacon in the gathering storm. "We confront our colleagues and see who flinches." But the tension was a heavy blanket wrapped around them, stifling the air. "This isn't our way," John said, shaking his head. "We can't accuse without proof. We must be strategic in how we uncover the truth." The gathered seeds of determination turned to resolve. "We'll watch." John could feel the determination radiate from his team. They would not let themselves be crushed by fear. As they continued to plan, sparks of laughter were shared alongside the dark weight of their motivation. More than just a team, they were a family. They felt stronger together. Outside, dawn began to break, illuminating the sky with hues of resilience and hope. As the first light filtered through the windows, John knew the battle was just around the corner. "Together, we will face whatever comes," he stated, his voice steady and filled with an electrifying energy. "We won't just survive. We will thrive." With shared nods and resolute smiles, they gathered up their determined spirits, fortified against the coming storm. And as the sun finally broke free, John felt that this was the dawn of something transformative. The fight that lay ahead wasn't just to save their company, it was a testament of trust, integrity, and honoring each other as stories. They would rewrite their narrative, a tale entwined with honor and vulnerability. Beneath the challenges, darkness couldn't extinguish the light they shared. As they readied themselves for the inevitable trials, John turned to Sarah, the person who ignited the spark of change. "No matter what happens, I know we'll emerge strong. Together." "Together," she echoed, her voice a promise, echoing in John's heart as if he'd found a lighthouse guiding him back home. And just like that, they stepped forward, a united front, ready to face whatever would come next. Time would reveal the truth, but in that moment, they were armed with faith, and sometimes, that was enough to move mountains. Now is the time to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss out on our next exclusive stories that will inspire. Leave a like right now to help us feed the algorithm, it makes a huge difference for us. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Let us hear what you think, and this is it. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Thank you later.